my screen.
I got it recording, so we're good.
Okay. This is kind of, I've put some stuff in here already, but I'm just gonna kind of write over what I've already done. If that's cool with you guys.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
I gotta find mine.
Mhm.
Oh, I wonder if I gotta pull up my, how do I have to be smart enough to be able to see my other screen? Let's see.
See, I'm not, so I printed mine off.
That's probably
smart.
what I should do.
What kind of
like-
computer do you have?
I just have like I have like a Lenovo. I don't know. I'm just like on my laptop.
Then I don't know how to help you. I'm sorry.
Okay, hold on. I'm like, I should be able to minimize the screen for, except for I'm trying to minimize Valerie's screen. No wonder. I'm
Yeah, that
like,
won't work.
why aren't my buttons working? But it's because I have her whole screen.
This,
At some point, we need to push record, right? Does
There
it
we
show-
go.
I recorded it.
Oh, okay.
Does it say that it's recording for you guys too?
probably, I just can't see it yet because I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, I can't see it either.
What group
That's
are
a
we?
recording.
Five?
So.
We're 6, group 6.
Yep.
I'm just doing this to get your names so I spell everyone right.
I really like this case study. I feel like it was a good change from the other.
For sure.
Wrong, please.
I was kind of wishing we could do our own case study of what's going on right now in the world.
Right?
That's what I thought.
Exactly.
Let's see. 5.
This is the biggest group I've ever had. I've only had groups with 3. So this is
Oh,
fun.
wow.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh, man. We've been lucky. I've always had a big group, which has been nice.
And
Okay, so I'm doing what Mary Ann did. I'm sending it to myself so I can print it. Because then I can watch at the same time. Let's see. Let me take a second here. To computer. Okay.
I have the worst memory, I swear. Okay.
You're not alone.
Eso por ahí se ve, ¿verdad? Tiene. Oh, you're black, huh?
No, I'm not, ahí estoy. Pero ver, no lo voy a dejar.
Valentina, Valentina. Mira, dije.
So I kind of missed it a little bit. Someone's in San Diego. You're in Indianapolis. Where else?
Meridian, Idaho.
Okay, Meridian. I'm in Pocatello, Idaho.
And then Hadley was from St. Anthony's, right?
Yep.
Idaho. Yeah.
Fine.
I've kind of been like, all these students that are on campus are getting ready to learn just how much more busy work they're going to be doing online
It's
school.
Totally true.
I can vouch for that. My husband has been having to do online and he has been complaining so much. And it's music in my ears because I'm like, this is what I've been going through for 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My kids are dying right now. They're like, I have these stupid discussion boards. I'm like, oh, please.
Preaching to the
Right.
choir. We know all
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I know discussion boards. Trust me.
I
I
kind of hope that the BYU will get back, like all the different schools will get feedback back that says this is too much. Like I think we would all be getting through faster with the classes that we need to take if they made it less work. I mean, we have to take
Well, it's
less
not
of a
even that-
load because it's so much work.
It's
Yeah.
not that it's too much work. It's that a lot of it feels pointless. Like it doesn't feel like it's actually helping us progress to our goal. Like it's like,
Yeah.
we didn't really know what to do here. So read this really big paper and just call it good for this week. And I'm like, ugh.
What do you think about this class? You think she gives a lot of work or reading? Or...
There's a lot of reading.
This class has a lot of reading. I think the hard part about the classes are that the teachers aren't in control of
Yeah,
changing them. They have to do whatever is.
it's so strict for the
It's so
online.
strict, and so all they can do is like help us along the way, but they can't actually
Change anything.
can't change any of the content.
Yeah.
I think that part's I think that's hard, and I think not in this class so much. I haven't heard her say anything, but I know in my other class, she said, you know, there's some things they've been trying to change for a couple semesters,
Mm-hmm.
and her hands are kind of tied too.
Yeah.
So
So
frustrating.
that'd be really frustrating.
'Cause
I
they
don't know
get
why.
the
It's
brunt of it.
just-
I've been a campus student my entire time because I'm a music
Okay.
major and you can't do music off campus. Like
Right.
it doesn't work.
Sure.
And I've only I took like a Book of Mormon class online twice actually. I failed it the first time because my mom died mid-semester. So like I
Oh no.
kind of failed that class. I managed to pull through all my other classes, but that one I just kind of forgot about because it was my only online class. So now I'm all online because I'm just finishing up my last few credits. And I was like, oh, this will be fine. I was like, I'll barely even be at school. I don't even have to go anywhere. Like, I only have 3 classes. It'll be fine. And holy crap, this has been, I won't say it's the worst semester because every semester I've had some sort of crazy circumstance or something happen. But like, it was a lot more than I expected it to be. Like, a lot more.
It's a lot.
Nine credits online,
No, there's
like
stuff
at
that's like-
least 12 on campus.
For sure.
Pandemic, so remember this, you know,
We're just amazing, right?
like pandemic.
That's right.
It's never happened before.
Okay. I'm trying to get this to print, but I don't know why it's not working, so I may have to kind of go back and
The
forth
ones that you were doing on the
to
computer.
pull up my stuff, but
Well, we can get started.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's a little easier.
And do we have a time limit where it will cut off if we don't get it done by a certain time, or?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
You can-
I put
It's
it
easier to do it on the
like
computer.
2 o'clock, but I don't see that we'll make it to 2 o'clock
Right.
okay.
or 3 o'clock or something.
She gets
Yeah.
$45
Fine.
she
We're
puts
good.
away $3 for every hour she works, and she works 5 hours. So if you do 3 times 15,
Okay.
because
I think we're getting somebody else's, I don't know if we're hearing feedback. Something like, it sounds like math homework.
That's what
3
I
times 15.
sorry, I just got other people doing homework in this room, so I'm gonna go.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I'm hearing some good math.
Yeah.
I could use that. Maybe I should
Yeah.
listen in.
I'm at my in-laws' house, and so my husband's grandma is currently so she's moving in with his aunt in Utah. But while
Okay.
they're finishing the basement for her, she's living here, and then they brought his cousin here. So like,
Oh, man.
Party.
it's all in his house right now.
Yeah, full
I live
house.
here, but I come here because it's easier to watch. Like they can kind of help watch her while I'm here. I can do that.
Perfect.
Okay, so we only
Okay.
need
Finally got one
100
to come up, so.
to 200 words per thing, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of short, honestly, like for some of the stuff, at least for me, the summary, it was kind of short. I was struggling although I don't think she cares too much if we're a little over.
Yeah, she said at the minimum, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote up the summary on my phone and then transferred to my computer. So I missed, and I was like, I'm not writing that again.
So lucky you could write it again.
I've got a summary too that I could send over.
I have a general timeline.
If you guys want to kind of read your summaries, and I'll kind of like combine them together.
So it's about the Quartum family.
Yeah.
Gaza.
Huh?
How is that spelled? Qurtam? Is that how it is?
OM.
O-M.
Or temple.
And they live in
I'm happy
Gaza.
to, if it's easier, I'm happy to cut and paste mine in.
You
Although
can
I
post
have-
it in the chats, and then she could copy it from the chat box over.
Really?
And then we can edit it as necessary. That'll be easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I do it? Tell me how to be smarter.
Okay, so if you click like at the bottom, there's of this screen that where the Zoom screen, there's a
Oh, yeah.
so you can just copy it.
Oh, all that in here? Okay.
Yeah, and then we can
All
go
right, hold on.
if it's what we like.
Yeah.
Sure,
And if it's not, at least we have somewhere to start from, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's pretty easy one to do, the summary. It's not like we're going to have very deviating answers for this.
Right, because it's all the same video. Because there was them, and they are living in Gaza, and basically they lost their son.
Hey,
They
there it is.
renamed him the same thing. Oh, here we go. Where'd it go?
Oops.
And the father, he lost his job due to health conditions, something like that.
The sister was crazy.
The
Oh,
sister,
it looks like I lost the very end of something. And they name.
Fill it in.
live in a place where there's, I mean, war and violence every day is part of their normal life. So
Okay.
There's that end. Okay.
And Ahmed too. Right?
That looks good.
Did you get the second half she sent you?
Yeah, just put a comma after their son who was killed. And then that's the whole thing.
Comma or a period?
I just put a comma and then after their son who was killed. I just set it off like a clause, but you don't have to. Whatever you.
Okay. Although the wife was not.
Okay. So does somebody want to read that out loud, and then we'll see if there's anything we want to add to it, or?
Yeah, I can do it since I have it printed too. It says, okay, the Cordum family lives in Gaza, and during a recent rocket attack, their 7-year-old son, Mahmoud, was injured when a piece of shrapnel hit him in the side, breaking a rib and puncturing his lung. Osama, the family's father, expressed feelings of PTSD and explained that his son, Ahmed, was killed outside of their house 4 years ago in a similar attack, also at the age of 7. Cordum lost his job after Ahmed's death and has been supported in part by his brother Allah. Cordum has had serious health problems. A daughter has also expressed anger that has required psychiatric help, and a son is currently suffering from nightmares and anger issues. The family understands their situation is not unusual for the area, but of course has grief. They sleep in the stairwells during bombing attacks and seem to be functioning as best as possible despite terrible circumstances. Although the wife is not specifically mentioned in the article, we know the family has had another son in the last 4 years that they named Ahmed after their son who was killed.
That's great. The other thing I wanted to add was, didn't he also rely on the government as well as his brother Allah for support?
Yeah, yep, so international, it says international aid. That's why I just said in part by his brother, but yeah, so you could put
That was like really the only other thing that I had in mind that you didn't have.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys?
Looks good.
no.
Significantly easier. Okay.
191 words. So this is kind of what I put down as my ideas of what could be applied. So the roller coaster model, because it has the occurring, what's it called? Like the after crises.
Yeah, the smaller
Yeah.
after.
And then the double ABCX, kind of for the same reason. And then I also put like the family typology model. The FAIR model could work for this too, but I kind of like the typology model better.
Me too.
What do you think?
Easier for me to understand.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
That one, right there for that one, you can add since the father is experiencing fear and stress, maybe for him he could do the cognitive behavior therapy to help him
Yep, I put that.
with stress.
So I think maybe we want to maybe we want to put them, we want to explain a
Bullet
little
points.
bit, like kind of bullet points, like why roller coaster model, because it specifically
Can
has
apply it.
after blah, 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 double ABCX because of this
Mhm.
typology, you know what I mean? So that we can kind of explain it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah,
where you
perfect.
said because of the after crises, I think we should relate that how it's like how that applies here. So because it describes the after crises, like we see in this, like where his son died was the major crisis, continuing airstrikes and threats to them or other crisis as well as his son being injured. Like that would be like an example of, and then his daughter having anger, like all those things would be smaller
Yeah,
things.
I think it'll be good to add like doing the daily mood logs for each of our family members since they're all being affected.
Yeah,
They're all dealing with negative fear all the time, I would think.
I had the
so scary.
So they can change that to positive feeling.
hmm yeah, I put that, those are the things I put the mood logs with the CBT, because again, they have so much, I mean, they're gonna have such a wide variety of feelings. And there's no, you know, I feel like this one's really interesting because especially, we can talk about it later when we get to like the community help, because everybody's in the same situation.
Yeah.
And so it's really different than some of the other ones we've looked at where you've had a specific family crisis. I feel like this one's really different. And I feel like those mood logs help you do the internal work.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one, you know, you're like expressing your most true feelings and trying to work through them in a positive way, but this one's tough. Okay, let's see.
okay, is that good?
Yeah, and then for the last one, the cognitive therapy for,
For the father, yeah, his
you have or, so for the father. And
This
then
laptop keyboard sometimes doesn't type the letters I push.
I think we should say why he needs that. Like,
Okay.
so for the father,
because he's experiencing fear and the
Negative thoughts.
I think kind of like PTSD type symptoms, you know, symptoms of PTSD.
total trauma. Yeah.
For sure.
And I mean, really, all of them, that the cognitive behavior therapy for him, for the
Daughter,
son and the daughter.
for the son who wants revenge, for everybody.
Yep.
But sons, like the one that was injured and the one that has.
You could probably do sons and daughters. I mean,
Yeah,
it
sons
didn't
and
list how
daughters.
many,
Yeah,
I
for the
just-
sons and daughters. Yeah.
because it does say sisters, so we know he has more than one sister.
hmm
I just can't imagine
Oh,
trying to
man.
raise a family there. Like, it's hard enough.
I know. I think I have problems because my 18-month-old undoes my laundry as I fold it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that pretty good?
Did we get mood logs in there? Because that's what you were saying, right?
Well, you could just do cognitive behavior therapy / mood logs.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're basically the same thing. Yeah, like do the same results.
So where in the,
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Oh, who's baby? Like a little one.
Yeah, I have a newborn. He's like
Oh,
Oh, it's so sweet.
how old?
3 weeks.
Oh, that is tiny.
wow.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
exciting. Man, you've had a crazy semester.
I wish I could
Yeah.
smell him. That's like my favorite thing.
Oh, look at all that
Oh my
hair.
heck. Look at how much hair he has.
He has so much hair.
That's awesome.
He's so cute.
I can't imagine having a baby mid-semester. That sounds terrible.
I did it.
We're sticking through. I know.
How she did it with those 3.
I know.
Triplets.
I was like, well, I guess she's like, qualified to teach this class.
No kidding.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought on this next section, like listing the relevant dangers, I mean, obviously, in this particular case, kind of like you said, there are physical dangers
From the
when you're
start.
living in a place where they have physical dangers all the time.
Mhm.
And then they have the psychological and emotional dangers that come with living in a war zone, that kind of like that PTSD type of behaviors.
Yeah.
Um,
Say, getting injured or losing family members with bombing.
I'm mostly focused, I guess, on the, I don't know, I can focus on both. I was trying to do this quickly because I didn't have a lot of time to finish it, and so I was kind of just trying to
No, I think that's good. So I think
Another risk,
go
I
ahead.
think, is like that there's poor mental and physical health because everything is just chaos. Another one would be like Ahmed, whatever, the new
Mhm.
kid, the second one. Like, he is never going to feel like he's enough his entire life. No matter what he
Oh, you
does.
mean the baby that's named after?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
because the dad said, well, nothing will ever replace him. Like, I could have babies every day for 100 years and it would never replace him. I'm like, great. So you named your son after him. So he's going to always feel like he can never measure up.
Like
I thought
living
that was kind of
under
like,
that legacy of one brother. Yeah.
I'm just gonna put Ahmed too.
perfect.
I also thought, I think there's a lot of risk. I'll let you finish that so I don't mess you up, but yeah, I think that's good. I think that Abdul is in a lot of risk because he is in that revenge thought process. And I just thought, when you're in a place where you want to get a gun and just kill a group of people kind of without, I don't want to say without reason, but without care of like who they are, you're in a very risky situation. You know, that you're kind of just in that place of violence and revenge.
Yeah.
I also focused on that, but kind of like the second part, like, because of that revenge, they're not going to be able to gain empathy or understanding for others because that is such a like inward, like selfish view. Like, I've been wronged, and not realizing that everybody on both sides of the border is being attacked and like victimized. And so I think it's like, it's not allowing for him to have closure or be able to see others that are suffering or any of those things. Like, it only is going to let him focus on his own anger and own feelings.
I would put, instead of they have a sort of victim mentality, I would say they're at risk to have a victim mindset.
Even the dad risk again because I think he had a health problem, and I guess with all the stress and everything going, lead again to the hospital, or I don't know.
Yeah, and same with the daughter. Like, I don't really know what psychiatric help looks like there, but I know in
Right.
other third world countries it's pretty very rudimentary, and that's very scary too. And like knowing if they're going to be able to afford it because he doesn't have a job and all these things that are piled up.
Well, I put on mine that, excuse me, that the girls, specifically the daughters, are at risk for potentially feeling less valuable and less important than the sons. Because that was mentioned that the uncle, Allah, mentions that, you know, it was particularly hard because sons are so important.
More valuable.
And I just thought, oh man, can you imagine growing up in a home, you're living through the same things, you're having the same, but maybe your, you know, just culturally, your worth is not as valued. And it seems like it would be, put the girls at great risk, especially emotionally, psychologically.
I just noticed the whole thing. It didn't seem like they didn't mention the wife, they didn't mention the daughters hardly at all, except the one that had mental issues. And
Well, the wife, like no mention of the mom.
I'm sure there's a mom because there's lots of kids.
Yeah, there's a new baby. So there's a mom because there's a new baby, right?
Not just
Right.
heartbreaking, like that they are not like a valued member. Like I took a class, Pakistan class,
Mm.
so it's the same culture. They're Arabs, and they have a mourning period when daughters are born. Like
Oh, wow.
nobody comes to visit. It's like you dress in black, you mourn, you don't talk to people. Like it's
Wow.
like you've sinned to have a daughter. Like you've done
Oh,
something.
wow.
I'm like, geez,
They're born.
I'm glad I'm alive.
That's
I feel like I
fascinating.
can bless people.
Wow, that's fascinating.
See, I've wondered if it was like a culture thing where kind of like how we don't talk about Heavenly Mother, where it's like they protect their women by not talking
Oh,
about it,
okay, yeah.
or if it's like they're ashamed of their women.
I think there's a little bit of both. Like it originally stemmed from the reverence for women.
Mm.
And now it has kind of, in some areas, it's become corrupt, that it is just shameful to be a woman. And like, so originally it was to protect women because they were so valuable and virtuous and everything. And then now it's become like because they're less than. And that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is.
We can offer a lot, right? Right, girls?
Yeah.
And we're all girls.
One risk that you haven't mentioned is, I mean, I'm guessing they're already at poverty level, but especially with the father not having the job, even more poverty.
Yeah,
Without
that's a
the
good
father
one.
working, they're
Well,
facing.
I briefly mentioned that, but I could go more into that.
Oh no, if you mentioned it, okay,
I
yeah.
just think out of funding, like if his brother cuts him off, or like if the international thing doesn't pan out or something.
You could just do running out of funding or facing extreme poverty.
Perfect.
Okay, I feel like for this next one, I usually have like a huge list of opportunities.
I know this one's hard.
It was rough.
Pull
Opportunity.
some out of a hat.
I said at least they've had the opportunity to feel the love and support of Osama's brother Allah.
Yeah.
Good one.
And somebody that visited them, I guess, and brought the kid a chocolate because they were mentioning about the school. Maybe that, I don't know if that was like a teacher or something.
Honestly, I wondered if it was the reporter.
I thought the same thing.
Wait, say it again.
I wondered if it was actually the reporter who had brought the chocolate and was giving it to the kid after having interviewed, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I was just guessing.
That was my guess too, but I have no idea.
I'm trying to remember anything about chocolate.
Yeah.
Very
I did say that, I know we mentioned that the youngest son may have a hard time because, being named after Ahmed. But I did say that they have chosen to have another child, not as a replacement, because he says that, but to help bring happiness back into the home.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like this is it's a difficult situation, but it is an opportunity for them to gain sympathy for their enemies because they know that what they're experiencing is the same thing that they're experiencing. So, like being able to have greater charity and just
Like I thought of things of like Muhammad's life was spared, and with hospital care, he was able to recover. The
That's a
family
good one.
received international assistance and help from family. The daughter received psychiatric care. Did you guys did that what it sounded like to you that she was able to get? Yeah. The ceasefire ceasefire announcement meant that there was good news that schools would reopen, and then I put and a chocolate treat was involved in that.
I like chocolate treats.
Okay, so I'm like slow.
No, you're fine. We can.
So toward their enemy.
Here's my question on those. Are those opportunities that were presented because of the crisis, or are they blessings within the crisis?
Good point.
I mean, I don't know. I'm like.
I feel like they're definitely resources that they were given. And
I may put those under resources.
is that one of them?
Yeah, the last one.
Okay. Yeah, so I feel like that would definitely fit under the resources. Another thing for this one is like I feel like it's a great opportunity for them to exercise faith in God or Allah or whatever, same thing.
A higher power.
Yeah, like that. Because like from our studies this week, like we learned about how oh dear, now it's leaving me. What was I gonna say?
How do you spell H like that?
Yeah.
Oh, the people who like put like spiritual things or put family first or bound together, relied on each other, they were the ones who were happiest and like had the higher quality of marriage and life reported. And so I think like even though, and it was that in the highest intensity extreme zones, there was the greatest discrepancy, like either completely miserable falling apart or the happiest people you found. So it's a great opportunity to like become the happiest people around and be the most united and all those things, like, but at the same time there is a major risk for the other way, but hopefully they can.
Could we say like they have an opportunity to adapt in their circumstances to actually create stronger, more cohesion in the family?
That was beautifully put. Yep, that was great.
Okay, so say that again.
So they have an opportunity to adapt in their situation to become a more cohesive family. Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, we certainly have listed well over 3.
Yes, we have.
So I think we're good there.
Do
Okay.
you want to jump down to resources since we're already kind of on that train, or do you want to go more?
Yeah, we can jump down to resources and do the ones that Marianne said.
Yeah.
Okay, so say yours again, Marianne.
I don't know though, because they're the ones that I would say, because it says additional resources that you want to provide or you want to suggest, not necessarily what were the resources within the
Oh.
story.
True.
So I'm good with skipping all that. We don't have to list, hospital care and all that, or psychiatric care. So we can come back to additional resources if you guys want to go back up to.
Well, I guess that could be
Okay.
recommend. Oh wait, that's supporting. I don't know, but that was a good points that you brought up. We appreciate.
I know.
it.
They're totally good. I'm just not sure like if they fit right in that.
Well, and after you said, did these present opportunities? Like, okay, I just was not clearly thinking about how to categorize into, what you guys have down is beautiful. I'm great with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll just go down the list then.
Okay, so let's see, which relationships? I mean, obviously, start with the marriage. I mean, certainly the marriage is at risk. You've got two parents who are both dealing with the loss of a son, and they're going to be grieving in their own way, and they may not be able to support each other at this time in the ways that they have in the past.
Mhm. Then the parents can work with the children to cope with their feelings of loss and anger and
Yep. So the parent-child relationships.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think Allah and what's the dad's name? Forgot.
Osama.
Osama. Their relationship is very important. But we'll wait for a minute.
Oh, the brother, the uncle and dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parent-child relationships.
Yeah, parent-child relationships, because everybody has like feelings of anger and PTSD and
Trauma.
trauma. Yeah.
And it will be important that the parents connect with each child. I mean, they'll all individually need, like you said, emotionally available. That's perfect.
Let's see.
So is the brother's name Allah? Allah.
Yeah, ALAA, Allah.
Mhm.
I think that's a good one because, yeah, he is supporting him financially.
And he
that's-
said he didn't get it why he wasn't. He's like, I don't get why he's struggling. Like we're all going
Oh,
through this.
I didn't read that he was saying he didn't get it. I had to read it like 3 times. I felt like he was saying like, let me go back and read it. I know exactly what you're talking about because I kept rereading it and rereading it. But then I think in the end, let's see, maybe I'm not reading it right.
And then I kind of skimmed through the reading.
He said it's hard for him to accept his brother's suffering.
Mhm.
And I thought that meant like it's hard to him to accept that that's happening to his brother, not that his brother is suffering, but I had to reread it. But so I don't know, maybe I'm not reading it right.
I totally could see the way that you're saying it too. I just assumed because I learned more about their culture,
Oh yeah.
blunt they are, and like just that's why I just was like, oh yeah, his brother's like, come on, we're all suffering. But I don't know, maybe it is
Oh, okay.
that too. I mean,
Well, they're definitely, either way, they're for sure at risk because
Yeah.
you've got the financial support,
Mhm.
whether, if that was me and my sister, whether I totally understand why she needs help or I don't, if I'm financially responsible for her, our relationship is at risk because it's an unusual situation and the risk is always there when you have financial responsibility outside of your own home.
totally.
That's really interesting. That's pretty cool that you took that class and have kind of a little bit more insight to the culture.
Mhm.
It was like my favorite class I've taken. I'm not
Oh,
kidding.
okay.
I loved it so much. And one thing that I got to do was they encouraged us to like connect with somebody who like, or find valid, like legit resources. Well, I found this Facebook page that was members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that lived in Pakistan.
Wow.
And so I reached out to them, and now there's 20 of them, and they're all my friends on Facebook.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
they keep up with me, and I talk with them and stuff, and I called some of them and did interviews, and because they all speak pretty good English.
Wow.
And I feel like I just have such a greater love and understanding for them now because of that experience. And I want to go there, but at the same time, I totally don't because it's so scary.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
Another one that I thought we should maybe put on there is that, and I don't, maybe not, because it's kind of, I was trying to figure out how to word it, but I said Abdul's relationship with like society is at risk.
yeah.
Like his relationship with the community or with society is at risk because he has these feelings of revenge and wanting to kill.
And there's so many extremist groups in those areas, and like just being at risk to easily create relationships in those groups. Like he has those seeds planted, and that is
Yeah.
scary.
I just thought, like, when I think about him, I just, I'm like, oh gosh, like if, I've got 2 teenage boys, and I can only imagine if one of them was talking like that, you'd just be petrified for your child.
So sad.
I put down Ahmed the Second's. I put parent relationship with him, but it might be another one of those things where it's his relationship with the whole family. And it sounds like we have all had the same great concerns that this child is not going to be able to live up to the legacy of the
Yes.
name.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah. Although, it's interesting. I think that's a really good one to put on. I'm not debating that at all. I'm surprised. I'm getting my family history minor.
Wow.
I can't believe how often that happens. Like in our culture, in the United States as well, where you have a child that dies and then the next child born 2 years later is also named the same name. And so it happens a lot. You'll be going through and you're like, oh, they had a child named Mary who only lived to be 2, and then they have another child named Mary who is born, 18 months later or whatever, 2 years later, whatever.
I feel like, I don't know, I guess this is my perspective, but I'm like, I don't want to name my kid that, because then what happens when you get to heaven and you have like 2 kids named the same thing? It just sounds so awkward later, and also just like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's one thing to name your kid after like a beloved grandparent or someone who passed away. Like, I mean, my daughter, her middle name is Cecilia, which is my mom's name, and she was born after my mom passed away. But like, I feel like that's different because it's not her first name. We don't call her Cecilia ever.
Well, and it's I don't, it's a little, to me, it's a little less raw, right? Like, it's a little less raw. Like, it feels more like it really is the same concept, I guess, as, because I'm saying we have people that are named after people. All my kids' middle names, they're named after people. But to lose a child just feels more raw. And to then have another child that you name, it just seems like it would be so hard to heal or to like, but maybe it's not. Maybe for some people that helps, just that like remembering them and having them be a part of their life. The family that I'm interviewing for the paper next week, they have a daughter that passed away. And they didn't name another child after the daughter, but they talk about her that's why I knew I could interview them, because they talk so openly about her as though she is still a current member of their family. They moved here years after the death of that daughter, but I feel like I know that daughter in the same way you might know about someone whose kid was at college and that you had never met. And so it's really interesting because different families are so different. But anyway, I digress, but still.
It's interesting though, like naming your kid after your kid that died. I feel like it's kind of like trying to replace your kid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think it would help me. Maybe that's the better way to say
I
it. I
think
don't
it
think it would help
definitely
me.
would help some people,
Yeah,
especially with certain cultures. Like that would make sense, but for me personally, that would be difficult.
yeah, it'd be really tough.
Okay.
So to kind of finish that sentence, you could just say, all of his family relationships so that he feels loved and needed and isn't always having to live up to the legacy of his name.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Live up to the legacy of his name.
Yeah, that's good.
Nice. All right. We're doing good. Okay, coping strategies.
I went right back to the CBT and mood logs for this next one.
I did too.
Same here.
Emotional support for one another too.
What is?
I
What
thought-
do you think that looks
Oh,
like?
sorry. What'd you say?
Well, she said emotional support for one another, but like, what would that actually, like, specific examples?
Maybe like serving one another within the home. I mean, learning to
On the end of that mood log, oh, there you go. I was going to say maybe, and how I was going to say there's an element to me of the mood logs that allows you to control what you can, which are your feelings. Because they're in such a chaotic situation,
Yeah.
they can't control much else. And it kind of reminded me of being in a concentration camp or being in a war-torn area or things like that where you can't control your circumstances, but through mood logs, through CBT, you have the potential to control your feelings. Baby sounds.
I love that. Um, so for family support, I was thinking like another way we could do that. We talked about family councils earlier, and like
Are you
setting.
doing this for coping strategies or for the support? Oh, so we're still on the same thing, right?
Yeah.
The coping strategies. Okay.
Like you need to pick a specific time and day to do that, so it's like a routine, or it's not going to happen. And I feel like maybe the focus of those councils could be gratitude or focusing on like,
Or the service, like she
empathy.
had mentioned.
yeah,
I think the service is a really good one.
because the less they can focus on themselves and their own woes, the happier they're going to be by like serving, helping each other and others. Like that's going to be the greatest burden lifter, I feel like.
I put that, well, and I don't know, maybe this goes under the additional resources. It probably goes under additional resources. How would you recommend the family cope or respond? Maybe, okay, probably goes, never mind. I'll put it under the other one.
Okay.
So do we have to have 3 different components to this part? Is that how this one is set up too?
At least 2, it says.
Okay. Because I'm like, if we need another one, I put DBT.
Yeah, I think do it.
Oh, tell me. Oof.
So what I have down is I would recommend that this family use DBT to help them relieve stress.
DBT?
Uh-huh. To help them relieve stress and cope with the anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
That they will be dealing with. From Ahmed's death and other members of the community. Because it's not just their family that
Yeah.
has deaths. I mean,
I'm trying to remember, was DBT the same lesson that we did the mindfulness meditation?
it is mindfulness meditation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's
That's
because
what
I was
this-
just like reading my mindfulness meditation thing that I wrote down. I'm like, that's pretty much what I wrote. I couldn't remember if it was the same thing or not. Thank you.
And so I just put, I believe DBT and mindfulness will help them live in the moment. Like there's a value in that.
I also put on family councils. They could do that as family to build unity and strengthening family bonds.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like this is kind of implied, but like each one of these things is what's going to help decrease the pileup because that's what we're trying to avoid. Like it's just basically like crisis after crisis after crisis when you're in these
Mhm.
zone areas.
Mhm.
So if you can like more quickly cope with the previous crisis and then be able to deal with it. So like, I mean, I don't know if just at the last paragraph you just want to say like all these things will help decrease pile up and avoid like I don't know.
Yeah,
Total.
I think that's right. Because she'll know what that means. You know, all of these things will help to decrease pile up.
Yeah, because it's just I mean, I feel like that's what they really need to avoid, and that's what's going to make or break them, make the bone
Mhm.
adjustment or the maladjustment. So
Just when you finish that sentence, I think when you did the last sentence on the family council part, I think you meant to put in strength and unity and family bonds, not in family. Maybe that's right. I don't know.
No.
within,
Yeah, no, that's good. And family bonds. I think that's good.
Okay, sorry.
No, I think that's good.
good catch.
Please, yeah, please feel free to like edit my writing.
I don't, I'll just have to change.
Any major errors?
I think at the, oh, okay, sorry. I think at the bottom of that page, there's another one that's underlined, but maybe it was just a name. I can't tell. Let's see. No, well, that one is too, but who knows? Will it just ask, oh, it's just, it needs to be help instead, that's all.
Oh,
I just saw that double underline. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
It's pretty good that that does that, actually.
Oh boy, it just said my internet connection's unstable, whatever that means.
well, mine has said that several times.
Yeah,
Okay,
mine
good.
has too, so.
Okay.
Okay, I felt like this next one, I said, you know, like I kind of started it out and I typed it out even though I don't know that it needs to be in there, but I just said, I feel like this is the hardest, this is the hardest one because no family is in isolation with this event. The community as a whole is going through this, these stressor events and these tragedies together. And so it's so different. So this, to me, this is the very most, the most different piece of this than anything else that we've looked at, because the community may be every bit as in need of resources as the family.
Mhm.
I
It will be.
because of that, that's why I put like how important support groups would be, and like
Yeah.
religion and participating in their religion, and like because they need the entire community in this case. Like there's nobody who's gone unscathed.
Yep.
Such a unique, horrible thing.
Maybe if they have more members, they can involve them.
Say that again.
I don't know if they have more family members, maybe like more another uncle or their
Oh, yeah.
grandma or grandpa. Maybe they can be a support to more family members.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I thought that I said the family can rally together and find a job that could be suitable for his health,
Mhm.
because like so
I put that one in the additional resources, but I think either way,
Yeah.
I put like help someone helping him find employment that might help, but we can put that in this one too. So
I put that in this one also. I put the family needs financial support or help in finding opportunities to help them to provide for themselves.
yeah.
um,
Okay, let's see.
sorry, we
So-
like jumped way ahead for you.
Yeah.
No, we're like, yeah, we're
Um,
okay. So you mentioned the extended family. Oh, sorry, just a second.
to
Oh.
be supported financially and or helped in finding opportunities
Yeah. Just
to help them provide for themselves.
Yeah,
Finding opportunities to help them provide.
yeah, to become self-sufficient or
Like
even
that.
more stable.
Another one that I thought of is like, I'm sure Valerie, you recognize this, that it's important to recognize important dates or milestones for families of who've lost somebody, or like not just for Amid, but for like everybody in the community. They're all having these losses of children, husbands, daughters, whatever, and like that's a good way to show people that you remember and you care, is like remembering, oh, this would have been their birthday, like how they had the graduation photo up, even though he was only 7. Just
I
like,
know, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting because he should only be like 11 years old, but that's okay.
just,
Maybe
like,
that's what they really value. I don't know.
Yeah,
here it is, yeah. So anything that just recognizes anniversaries, death dates, milestones, stuff like that. I think that is a way to really help people feel valued.
Okay, more on this one, or are we moving to the next one?
Good.
I think that's good.
Okay.
I think this one, this last one, like if there was some kind of a PTSD support group or some type of a community trauma, something like they should go.
Some support group or something.
Yeah, some type of support.
Yeah.
Maybe I would
Uh,
family
okay.
family prayer, all of them together.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Mm.
Isn't it like, I don't know exactly which religion this is, but isn't there like some Islamic religion that they have, like, when strictly obeyed, they like have certain times that they pray and like they kind of just drop wherever they are and start
Yep.
praying?
Sunrise and sunset, as well as middle of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was one time I was like at the mall and there was a lady and she had like a burqa on and everything and she had her prayer roll mat thing out and she was like just in the middle of the mall floor like praying. I was like,
It really
Yeah,
is
they have the
beautiful.
call to prayer.
Yeah.
and I mean, I was like, cool. It's dedication.
Yeah.
I really love that about them, that they take it so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
would say, oh, go ahead.
Until I met my husband, and then he was like a return missionary. He's like, he'd always pray in a restaurant, and I thought it was the weirdest thing until, I don't know, I guess I just got used to it.
I can suggest a family to do like family activities to keep their minds off the violence that is going out there in their country.
Yeah, things that bring joy, that like to
Yeah.
maintain a sense of normalcy as much as possible, like
Mhm.
among the war.
I put that, obviously, I put the employment on there as well, like to seek out an employment specialist or, some type of employment specialist to see if there are jobs that Osama could find part-time that he could manage with his health restrictions that would allow for more stability. I know we kind of talked about it before, but
I think this is, I intentionally kind of left it right here.
and I also put, I don't know why, maybe because just the teenage boy again, but the son with like the anger and the nightmares. And I thought that, potentially he may need a doctor's care for the issues related to sleep, depending on how extreme, depending on how they are, because, he just may need to be evaluated and potentially put under a doctor's care. And so that's for Abdul. Yeah, maybe, yeah, just to manage. There you go.
I think that's a part of post-traumatic stress disorder too, though. Like it's a symptom of it.
Okay.
But I mean, that looks good.
And it's not like worded very smoothly, but
I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it'll be totally fine.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to add?
I think it's pretty good.
Okay, then I'm going to stop recording.